No, well, parents came here in 1955 as, you know, not the Windrush, but there were other boats they came over on from Montserrat. And Dad came over to, you know, work in the streets paved with gold, and he was a tailor, second generation tailor at the time, and he worked in Savile Row. So he made us all have this trade so that we could work anywhere in the world. I went to the Royal College of Art in 79, 80 and got my master's degree in design. The key challenges at even starting at college was the fact that people looking through my work didn't realise my background because I'm very English, and my work was picked on merit rather than the way I look. They treated you as if they wanted to kick you out of college all the time. Well, in my case, it felt like that. At the time, there wasn't any other black students. It didn't fit in with their criteria, and I did as much as I could to, or if not better than most of the other students. I've never really given up, and that's the attitude I've always had towards my business. About 1971, when we won the double, that's when I started watching Arsenal seriously. All my heroes at the time. Dad used to make clothes for some of the players. In those days, the players were local, and you know, you would go to your local tailors, we were the local tailors, and you get your suit made. I came back as a tutor, so I was heading up the new course of menswear at the Royal College, God, I won't say 92 or something like that. I had students that were in Louis Vuitton, they went on to work for Armani, Yves Saint Laurent. And one of the students that left me, he went to work for Nike. And another one worked for Umbro, and Umbro's the designers of football kits for about 100 years. So unbeknown to me, they had this new takeover of Umbro by Nike, and they said, we want to change everything, what would you do? And one of my students was there as a designer of Umbro and said, oh God, we need to find something English, British, and someone who loves football, someone that's into all things English, you know, down to eating kippers. And he thought of me, I ticked all the boxes. So he came to me and said, Charlie, what would you do if you were to design the New England kit? And I said, wow, oh my God, this is fantastic. I would make it the way that I make suits. There's a lot of shaping in the body. This is size 44, so the neck's quite big. So it was quite a good experiment, and they carried it on for years.
I went to a costume shop in Cambridge, and the lady who owned it, she'd actually worked for the BBC, and she had loads of like original archive costume. And so I loved like going up to the attic and like looking through the stuff and seeing how it was made. And I came to realise that like men's tailoring is made a lot better than women's stuff. So after working at Wardrobe, I started exploring menswear shops because I just became really fascinated with suits. I decided to do this tailoring course in Newham, and I spent 2 years there, and I never looked back basically. But during our second year, I just started getting a bit restless and I really wanted work experience. So I went down to Savile Row with my portfolio. First place I tried actually was Anderson & Shepherd, and it was insane. The guy, Mr. Hitchcock, who was the head cutter at the time, I walked in there and I asked him, I was just looking for a day's work experience. He looked at my portfolio and said, sure, go up to Carnaby and spend the day there. So I went there and came back, and they kept on asking me to come back. Then they offered me an apprenticeship. I'd say it's probably down to like my tenacity and a lot of hard work. Savile Row is a place that has a lot of history and like a lot of weight behind it. It was difficult because I don't think I'm necessarily like a traditional person, and it was a very traditional environment. For me, there wasn't a blueprint for a young black woman in Savile Row, you know? I started to realise that I had to go in navigate like a different path for myself. There's always like a struggle being like the female. I always think that a lot more can be done and a lot more should definitely be done. fast forward like a few years later, I found this tailor called Charlie Allen, but he was also an incredible fashion designer. So I felt like Charlie really aligned more with where I wanted to go. I remember coming from Savile Row to here, where everything was so confined and it was like there's a certain way to do things. And Charlie says to me, okay, so now you know the rules, now it's time to break them.
So what's wrong here? What have you done wrong?
Nothing's wrong.
It looks good.
Oh.
Bespoke tailoring will always be bespoke tailoring, but the future is made to measure. I think I might have one of these myself. The main advice I would give to anyone starting now would be, you know, don't give in, because there's so many pitfalls. You can start your own business, but you'll get knockback from the first customer you see. If you can't get past that, you're never going to make it.
Thank you for coming to our crib.
Bye. See you.
Bye.